Alright, welcome back you guys to another layout update. First off, I just want to apologize for the last layout update I put up. I was kind of rushed to get that out to you guys because a few people were bugging me to show you guys what I'd gotten, and I wasn't aware that I was covering up the mic for the first little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and redo that. And first off, I just want to say I'm going to try and do most of my layout updates like this one, steady with the camera, not an iPad, and so on. But anyway, this is a Bowser Executive Line Conrail 100-ton hopper. I got this for my birthday, which was back in November. I know it's kind of late to get this out to you guys, but I have a fair bit more to show you guys. But anyway, it came without the load, and it was kind of wobbly, so I added the load, and it runs a lot better. I still need to change out the couplers, and I got this for 17 bucks. And that's a pretty good price for most of the rolling stock, compared to the rest of the rolling stock I have. But it doesn't have any crazy detail. It's got the brake wheel here and no see-through walkway, but not a big deal. Alright, this is the new Athearn Ready to Roll Trinity 3-bay hopper by Norfolk Southern. It's got a lot more detail than the other two cars I just showed you, and I'm really impressed with it. It's got all the see-through walkways, warning labels, and brake levers and chains and such on the model, and I must say I'm really impressed with it. Although the price was a bit much, I paid $34 to this, and came up to a bit more when I outfitted it to with the KD number 5s. But it was well worth it, and I'm definitely going to hang on to this model for a while. Alright, so this next item is the Walthers Platinum Line high side covered hopper in Union Pacific's paint scheme, and I must say I am very impressed with it. It's got all see-through walkways, brake line detailed, and all the warning labels and everything is legible. And I must say I'm really impressed with this, and I picked this up on my birthday for $19. So I had to get that. And moving on to the next item. Alright, so I got this car for Christmas, and it is the Truline Trans Gold Line covered hopper. 4-bay, I believe. I'm not quite too sure on it. It's in Canadian National lettering, and it's got a lot of detail, see-through walkways, see-through chains on the brake wheel, and so on and so forth throughout the braking components throughout the model. And I was really impressed with this. I don't know how much it was because it was a Christmas present, and I usually never find out how much those are, but it's even got the cut levers and all the grab irons on the prototype. And it's not quite my era, but I will be hanging on to this model for a little while and upgrading a few things on it because it's a bit wobbly. But anyway, moving on to a few completed projects. Alright, so this is a completed Intermountain high side covered hopper in Burlington Northern colors. It is the first project I've completed over the past little while, and this was kind of a lot more difficult than what I'm used to. I've usually done a few Proto 2000 high side covered hoppers, and those were pretty easy, but this being a lot more difficult wasn't that really big of a problem for me, considering I was looking for something a lot more difficult. Now, the walkways and such aren't exactly see-through, but they are indented to look like they are, and that's not a problem for me. And from when it was actually produced, that's kind of cool. Now, some things that I've done to it is I've replaced the couplers with KD number 5s, and the wheels on the model are not the ones it comes with, but they're the Proto 2000 ones. And I didn't settle with the Intermountain one because I didn't know, and that's not a problem for me. But it runs smoothly, kind of squeaky. That's kind of the only drawback. But other than that, I'm really happy with it, with the way it turned out. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, so this is the Proto 2000 high side covered hopper. I've done multiple ones of these in the past, and this one, when I got it, it was $6, so it wasn't that big of a deal for the price, but it was kind of half completed, like I said. All I really had to do was add the walkways, the wheels, and the couplers to it once to get it completed. The only drawback to it is that the fencing on this end, I think it's called, should be on this end, and the brake wheel should be on this end with all the braking components, but that's not really that big of a deal to me. Alright, so let's move on to 2 more projects, and then I'll move on to some new stuff that I've gotten for locomotives. Alright, so this is the 90% finished BNSF Phase Heritage 2 Scheme -9 that I've been working on for a very long time now. I am really glad I've got it to this point. All the decals are on it, they're not falling off or shredding, and I'm really happy about that. I've added on a new plow as well as MU hoses on either side, and I've upgraded the coupler to a 158, and it's actually raised it up a fair bit. And I'll just go ahead and turn the model around. You can see the other side. Now when I say 90% done, I still have to cut out some of the decals in certain sections, so you can see all the grills like along here, on the back here where the sand hatch is, which I didn't move up to the top like I wanted, but that's not a big deal. Some of the other things I still have to add are the safety stripes along the locomotive. I'm not sure if I'm going to do those or not. I might, but however, I still have to add on handrails, and I have to add up a new horn. I did have one, but I misplaced it and I can't find it now, but I'll just get a new 5-chime horn and then we'll be good. Just give it one last look. Now some of you are wondering what I use. It's basically a micro set to hold it, adhere to the shell, and I put a Tester's dull coat spray over it so the decals don't slide off afterwards. And I still have to get a 9-pin for this one, and then I'll be back up and running. Alright, and then you'll see it in a few videos running behind my ACE or leading a few with the BNSF ACE. Alright, so one last locomotive project I've completed, and then we'll move on to the newer one I got. Alright, so this is the completed KCS SD40-2 that I got a few months ago at the Bowmanville train show. I added in directional lighting to the front, but I've run into two problems. The decoder mapping is a bit messed up. Sometimes the locomotive will start moving in speed step 1 but won't stop or any other speed step. And I cannot turn the lights on and off. I've tried resetting the decoder multiple times, but I'm going to see if putting a different decoder in there solves the problem, or if not, I'm just going to leave them on, and I'm going to be sending this decoder back to Digitrax, because they shouldn't be doing that, and the lights should be turning on and off, because it's wired up the same way any other light would be. But other than that, the locomotive runs really quietly, which is really surprising for a blue box, and it's going to be getting a lot more detail. Alright, so let's move on to the new locomotive that I've gotten. Alright, so this is my brand new Athearn ready to roll BC Rail -9. I picked this up over the weekend for $64, and I know these are extremely hard to find, and for the price that it was when I saw it, I just had to get it. And unfortunately also when I got it, they did not have any 9-pin decoders, but that wasn't a problem because I'll be getting a few of those this Friday for the BNSF, the KCS AC 4400, and this BC Rail. And I must say I am really impressed with it. The only thing that's a bit of a drawback is there's no window shade on this side, but I'm going to be emailing Athearn to get a new one of those, and then we'll be good to go. So the first thing you may have noticed while I was doing those overviews of the new things that I've gotten is that I've completed this section of the layout. It's just a small section where I can do reviews, kind of pushing to get that done, and I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. I got the signal in place. I still haven't wired it up, but it's currently drying, and as soon as I have it dried and I'll have it wired up, I'll show you guys. And another thing that I've been working on is this part of the tunnel portal, and it's turning out really good so far, and hopefully it continues to. So let's move on. Alright, so I've completed all the mudding from the old section of grass and ballasting that I've done all the way up to this point, and now I can paint over it and do some grass and ballast work up to that point. And as well as I finished mudding on this part of the layout, as well as I finished all the corking, all the cork. and those two lines just run down there. And I'm going to use this back line as storage as I am running it on this lower part. And as well as I've completed all the mudding down here, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and then I can start laying down the paint for the grass and such. And then I'll continue to do some ballast work. Alright, so a neat little thing I picked up a few weeks ago at the hobby shop were these Osborne Model Kit scenic ties. And you can use these to build your layout, or you can just put them at the side of the rails like I have, and I'd have to say they look really good at the side of this actual railway crossing. And in case you're wondering, it comes in a pack of 50, and I have a few more right here. And I'm in the middle of weathering up a few more at this point. And as well as I picked up some milepost markings, and they're going to go throughout the layout, starting at the yard and working their way around.